Do you remember PC Declan Jones? I'm sure you do. Let me jog your memory.
Remember this guy? The West Midlands Police official statement on this incident says that we are investigating one of our officers who stopped a teenager who was seen acting suspiciously. The 15-year-old was told he would be stopped and searched under the Misuse of Drugs Act. He refused to cooperate and is alleged to have elbowed the officer in the face. He was restrained by the officer before being detained and returned home. The Force's Professional Standards Department is reviewing CCTV and body-worn video of the incident following a complaint alleging that the boy had been assaulted by the officer during the course of his encounter. It has also voluntarily been referred to the Independent Office for Police Conduct. The officer has not been suspended but has been removed from frontline duties while the investigation is carried out. Shame it doesn't say anything there about the punch to the head or the kick while he was on the floor. Also, I'm glad that it doesn't suggest that the boy was carrying a weapon or believed to be carrying a weapon. So when you think about it, all the boy probably tried to do was get away when the cop tried twisting him up, because that tends to be what happens.
Obviously, PC Jones has been dealt with after he was found to have committed at least 2 assaults that were thankfully caught on camera. The second assault was against this guy who got beaten by Jones for having a bike.
What you're seeing on the screen now is allegedly the same constable repeatedly punching a cyclist after throwing him over the bonnet of a police car. The cyclist suffered bruising to his torso. Says he was riding his own bike for permitted pandemic exercise when he was stopped. He also claims that the police were informed at the scene that the stolen bike had been found. In any case, the bike he was riding was grey and the stolen bike was black. What concerns me about this video is the second police constable not trying to calm the situation down, but instead making it worse by also tugging at the boy and pinning him down while his colleague punched him. Police have a duty to report conduct that is not becoming of a police constable. These kind of actions are certainly not becoming of a police constable. In fact, these 2 incidents happened 1 day apart. And if these 2 incidents happened 1 day apart, I think it's easy to see how happy this constable is to throw his weight around, and I'm sure it's not the first time that it's been done. Therefore, why is he still working as a police constable? Why has he not been sacked? Why is he still not been suspended?
Not the bike that the police were looking for either, as it was a different colour. But at the time I remarked that the female cretin with him should be facing misconduct charges for doing nothing to stop the assault by her colleague. Well, it appears now that West Midlands Police Sergeant Jennifer Edwards, yes, she was a sergeant, and she stood there and let him beat the lad unlawfully, also got her fill on that day as she pepper sprayed the cyclist, Michael Rose, after Declan Jones punched him. Now, Declan Jones, you may remember, topped himself allegedly due to the shame of it all, although it's more likely the threat of jail and being a victim himself was more likely the reason. I mean, let's face it, when have you ever seen a cop that's shameful of their actions? Now, some 3 years after the incident, Sergeant Jennifer Edwards has faced her own misconduct hearing for her actions, although she denied breaching professional standards. The IOPC is said to have investigated the incident over an 11-month period, and facing her misconduct hearing, Sergeant Jennifer Edwards' actions were deemed to have breached the standards of professional behaviour. However, they found only on the lower scale of misconduct, and only in relation to her use of PAVA spray on the cyclist. A spokesperson said, at a 2-day gross misconduct hearing organised by the force, which concluded on Tuesday, February the 7th, Sergeant Edwards was found to have breached police standards of professional behaviour for use of force at the lower level of misconduct. This was in respect of her use of PAVA spray on the second occasion during the incident. She was also found to have breached the standards for conduct and for duties and responsibilities for not showing the man courtesy, consideration and respect, and non-compliance with the requirements of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act. The independently chaired disciplinary panel ruled that the officer's actions amounted to misconduct rather than gross misconduct and handed Police Sergeant Edwards a final written warning which will stay on her record for 4 years. So Edwards, a sergeant who was not only allowed Declan Jones to assault the cyclist but then actively engaged in the assault herself, failed to do anything about the assault after it had occurred or reporting Declan Jones for his assault, gets misconducted for an extra spray of PAVA and the failing to show the man courtesy. I mean, what the actual fuck is that about? Community leader Bishop Desmond Jadu released a statement on behalf of Mr Rose and his stepfather Mr John, saying, "We welcome the findings against Sergeant Edwards, who was the senior officer on the scene at the time when this occurred. In the view of Mr Rose and Mr John, she did nothing to de-escalate the attack Mr Rose was subjected to. Although she has not lost her job, which in our opinion should have happened, we do welcome the final warning. It is time the West Midlands Police Federation takes stock. I believe some officers have stereotypical views when policing inner city areas, and this is not a great advert for community relations. However, on this occasion the police officer has been held to account, and it is hoped that moving forward community relations will improve. We must remember the police need the community, and the community need the police." Now, seeing as the incidents, both the cyclist and the lad being booted on the floor, happened one day apart, and generally police are put with a colleague that they stay with for a week or however long, then I would suggest that Sergeant Jennifer Edwards was the female plod from the previous day who yet again stood around and did nothing. But I've heard nothing about her and that assault, whereas Declan Jones was obviously on charges for both assaults. I will be contacting West Midlands Police to find out if it was her at both incidents, and if so, why she hasn't been charged or misconducted with anything relating to that second incident, because Police Code of Ethics, which is basically professional standards, also includes challenging and reporting improper conduct, of which it states, "I will report, challenge or take action against the conduct of colleagues which has fallen below the standards of professional behaviour." Clearly she did not, and therefore she should have had that taken into account too. I'm not so sure I agree with the final written warning, especially if it turns out that she was the bint with Jones the previous day, because that would be twice she failed to challenge his behaviour, and as a sergeant, that's got to be bad.